saying yes when you want to scream no, anticipating everyone's needs while swallowing your own. Somewhere, you learned that love is earned through perfection, through pleasing, through self-erasure. But that's not love, that's survival, and you don't have to live like that anymore. You can be loved in your mess, in your silence, in your honest, uncurated truth. You don't have to entertain. You don't have to explain. You don't have to perform peace when you're in pieces. The right love sees through the mask. The real love sits with the chaos. The deep love stays even when you're not sparkling. Let them see you, not the version you crafted. The real you. The one who's tired of acting. You are worthy without the show. You've been trying to fix it all, reaching for strategies, solutions, answers. You've been Googling your feelings, trying to outthink your ache. But healing doesn't always start with doing. Sometimes it begins with stillness. Before the fixing, pause. Before the analysis, breathe. Sit with what hurts without trying to outpace it. Let your body feel without rushing it into logic. Stillness is not stagnation. It's sacred space. It's the soft middle where nervous systems reset and clarity begins to surface. Your impulse to fix everything comes from fear. Stillness makes room for self-trust. You are not broken. You're just overwhelmed. Give yourself permission to stop reaching and just rest. The clarity will come not through panic, but through peace. If what we've shared today made you feel seen and you're ready to take that energy even deeper, Grace Matsuda is waiting at 10 a.m. She speaks softly but strikes truth like lightning. She'll help you name the emotional needs you've been conditioned to ignore. You don't have to do this alone. Not today. Not anymore. Every day you wake up, you're already enough. But you've been taught to perform, to impress, to convince, to chase approval like it's oxygen. What if today you didn't? What if your worth wasn't tied to how productive you are, how attractive you feel, or how many people liked your post? What if your existence wasn't something to be defended, but something to be inhabited? You don't have to earn peace. You don't have to prove your humanity. The pressure to perform is not your identity. It's just a costume you were handed. You can take it off, and beneath it, you're still standing, still whole, still deserving of love. You told them you were okay. You said yes when you meant no. You smiled when you wanted to scream. But today, you can change that. You are not bound by the you from yesterday. Change doesn't make you fake. It makes you free. You can back out of that trip. You can end the relationship. You can revise the goal. You don't owe anyone your stagnation just because your previous self made a promise. This is growth. This is healing. This is becoming. So, if your heart whispers a different truth today, listen. You're not flaky. You're not inconsistent. You're evolving. You've convinced yourself that your healing is a solo mission, that you've got to handle it, fix it, sort it all out without needing anyone. But that's trauma talking. That's the voice of survival. Healing was never meant to be a one-person job. You need safe spaces, safe people, people who say, "You're not too much," and actually mean it. People who let you unravel without asking you to snap back together for their comfort. You deserve to be held in the places you've been hiding. You deserve mirrors that reflect your worth back to you when you can't see it yourself. There's no trophy for doing it alone. Let others witness your healing. Let others support your becoming. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. There are days you replay moments and cringe. Things you said, ways you acted, the people you hurt. And it's easy to cast yourself as the villain. But the truth? You were doing your best with the tools you had and the pain you hadn't processed. Accountability is not shame. Growth is not self-punishment. You are not frozen in the worst version of yourself. You are not defined by your darkest hour. You've learned. You've softened. You've faced things others avoid. You're allowed to forgive yourself without erasing the lessons. You're allowed to move forward without carrying the chains of guilt. You are not the villain. You are the one still here, trying to write a new chapter. That counts. That matters. They told you to toughen up, to stop crying, to be stronger, to let it roll off your back. So you hardened, you masked, you built armor, you braced every time love came close. But your softness, that's your superpower. Feeling deeply is not a flaw. It's not weakness. It's a sign of life. The world needs more people who care deeply, who pause to listen, who cry in movies, who notice the tremble in someone's voice and offer presence. You don't need to be harder. You need safer spaces where your softness is honored. Let softness lead today, not because it's strategic, but because it's sacred. Because it's you. You thought you'd be past this by now. You thought time would erase it. You told yourself, other people have it worse. You minimized the ache. But healing doesn't follow deadlines. It's not linear. It doesn't move just because the calendar flips. Stop judging your progress by how long it's taking. Some wounds go quiet for a while, then flare up unexpectedly. That doesn't mean you're back to square one. It means you're still walking the path. Your pace is not a problem. Your grief is not a failure. Your emotions are not an inconvenience. Be gentle. Be slow if you need to. You're not behind. You're becoming. They called you dramatic, too sensitive, too much. But they never asked why you felt so deeply, why you reacted that way, why your silence came after being talked over one too many times. You were labeled by people who didn't have the tools to understand your pain, or worse, didn't care to. But those labels, they're not facts. They're projections. And you don't have to carry them anymore. You are not too much. You are expressive. You are alert to the world's shifts. You are tuned in to the emotional frequencies others block out. Let the old labels fall off. Replace them with your truth. I feel deeply, and that's not a flaw. I protect myself because I've been hurt. I ask for clarity because I've been gaslit. You don't owe anyone smallness. You don't need to fit their box. You're allowed to grow beyond it. You say, I don't do that anymore. You block. You ghost. You go quiet. You draw lines in the sand. And sometimes that's healthy. Sometimes it's necessary. But pause for a moment. Are some of your boundaries just grief dressed up as control? Are you avoiding connection because you're still holding the echo of a past betrayal? Have your walls grown taller because no one taught you the language of repair? Boundaries are sacred, but if they're only built from pain, they can become cages. You deserve protection and freedom. You deserve discernment and openness. It's okay to revisit your boundaries, not to erase them, but to ask if they're still serving the you you're becoming. You've told yourself you have to be healed before you can be held, that love only comes after the breakthrough. But healing doesn't work like that, and neither does love. You don't have to reach some imaginary milestone before you're worthy of tenderness. You can still be triggered and still be lovable, still be unsure and still be worthy, still be learning and still deserve someone who stays. Real connection doesn't wait for you to become perfect. It meets you right in the middle of the mess. Let someone see you now. Let someone love you now. Not as a project, but as a person. There's beauty in the in-between. There's grace in the becoming. And there is space, right now, for love to find you. Some exits aren't betrayals. They're blessings. You begged them to stay. You questioned your worth when they left. You rewrote every scene trying to understand what went wrong. But maybe it didn't go wrong. Maybe it went right. Maybe they were a chapter, not the whole book. Some people are assignments, not soulmates. Some are mirrors, not companions. And while it's okay to grieve, don't confuse their absence with your unworthiness. You didn't lose them. They exited your story when the script no longer matched. Trust the edit. Trust the timeline. What is meant for you won't require you to shrink, or beg, or question your value. You thought healing meant you'd never feel it again. That one day, you'd wake up and the memory wouldn't sting. But healing isn't amnesia. It's acknowledgement. It's making peace with the scar, not pretending it never happened. Some days, the pain flickers. Not as loud as before, but still present. Still part of the landscape. That doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're honest. It means your body remembers, but your spirit knows how to breathe through it now. You can still feel the ache and not be consumed by it. You can still remember without reliving. Healing is not the absence of pain. It's the presence of compassion toward yourself when the wound whispers. You smiled today, and part of you felt guilty. Like happiness was disloyal to the version of you who once sat in the dark. But joy isn't betrayal. It's survival. It's sacred. It's the evidence that you're not stuck in sorrow. You're not abandoning your past pain by laughing now. You're honoring it by showing it didn't win. Let joy in, even if it's brief. Even if it feels awkward, even if your nervous system doesn't know what to do with it yet. Joy is not denial. It's your nervous system remembering what safety feels like. You're allowed to feel good without a reason. You're allowed to rise without explaining why. This smile, it belongs here. Let it stay. You've internalized it, haven't you? The idea that you're too much, too emotional, too complicated, too damaged. But let's get something clear. You are not hard to love. You've just been around people who didn't know how to love deeply. Your needs aren't excessive. Your desire for reassurance isn't weakness. Your craving for emotional safety is not unreasonable. You've adapted to survive, but you were never meant to stay hidden forever. You are not a burden. You are a human being with history, emotion, complexity, and so much heart. The right people will lean in. They won't flinch at your story. They won't shame your sensitivity. You're not too much. They were simply not enough for the depth of your truth. Let that sink in, and let it shift how you speak to yourself. You are not the problem. You've been waiting for some moment where you finally feel good enough to let yourself off the hook. But that moment keeps slipping. You replay the mistake. You dissect every decision. You punish yourself with silence, with guilt, with perfectionism. But hear this, you don't need to earn your own forgiveness. It's not a transaction. It's not a debt to be paid. It's a mercy you're allowed to offer to the version of you who was doing their best with limited tools. Language or clarity. Self-accountability matters. But self-crucifixion is not healing. What would it look like to say to yourself, I get it. I see why you did that. I still love you. You're not excusing it. You're understanding it. And that understanding might be the key to finally letting go. It's confusing, isn't it? How someone who once felt like your safe place can now feel like a ghost you're trying to unlearn. They were your comfort, your constant. Maybe even your first real love or friendship. But here's the thing. Growth changes the coordinates of home. What used to feel safe might now feel constricting. What used to feel familiar might now feel false. That's not betrayal. That's evolution. You don't owe permanence to people who were only meant to walk with you for a season. Love them for what they were, but don't shrink to fit an outdated version of yourself just to keep them comfortable. Some homes become too small for the person you're becoming. It's okay to leave even if you once prayed to stay. You thought by now you'd have it all figured out. You made plans. You gave it everything. And still, here you are, starting again. But this isn't failure. This is renewal. This is you choosing alignment over autopilot. Starting over doesn't mean you got it wrong. It means you outgrew what no longer fits. It means you were honest enough to pivot. You're not late. You're not behind. You're brave. You're aware. You're willing to begin again rather than pretend it's all okay. Honor the restart. Celebrate the reset. This version of you, the one who chooses again, is stronger than the one who never questioned anything. Fresh starts don't erase your story. They expand it. You're gentle, empathic. You lead with your heart, And somewhere along the way, that became permission for people to cross your lines. But being soft doesn't mean being silent. Being kind doesn't mean being compliant. You're allowed to have edges. You're allowed to say no. You're allowed to walk away from what disturbs your peace, even if your voice shakes. Boundaries aren't walls. They're doors with locks. You choose who enters. You choose what stays. You don't have to explain it all. You don't have to apologize for protecting your energy. Your tenderness is a strength, and so is your ability to guard it. So let them call you difficult. Let them call you selfish. You know what you're preserving. You know you're reclaiming your softness as sacred, not disposable. You've been quiet for so long. Maybe you thought silence was the safest way to heal. But what if your voice is part of your medicine? What if speaking is how you reclaim your story? You've endured. You've made it through things others don't even believe when you say it out loud. That survival? It deserves volume. Not for pity, not for validation, but because your testimony can set someone else free. Be loud about your scars, not for attention, but for liberation. You don't have to whisper what you walked through. You can declare it. You can say, I lived, and I'm still here. Your story isn't shameful. It's sacred. Speak it.